Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Wan Jie Nan Zhao Yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 好的，师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, hello and welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Heng. It is January the 7th. Is this a day that lives in infamy? I don't recall. Pearl Harbor Day. It is Saturday the 6th of January, another day of infamy, back in California. And in the Dharma realm, it is a timeless day. We're here to look into the Flower Garden Sutra, to listen in on a conversation where today we're into it. We're into the excitement of the pilgrimage of Sudana. And some of the characters who show up today are worth our investigation. It's good to know who Manjushri Bodhisattva is. It's good to know who Shariputra is. And we can put ourselves in the position of the 6,000 bhikshu, could easily be 6,000 bhikshuni disciples of Shariputra who are there asking Manjushri Bodhisattva, will you please accept me as your student? And then they talk about why. So, very cool section of text today. Let's go back to our protocols. Get started here. All right. Here we go. We're going to invoke the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the Avatamsaka assembly, and the gods and dragons and Eightfold Pantheon, with a little bit of music. Church organs. Namo Tassa Furthermore, We respectfully acknowledge the Kombu people, the Ugambe language region, as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where the monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. 这就是说我们恭敬地承认Ugambe语族的贡布玛丽人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从未放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。I'm finally getting to where I can say that without stumbling. That's pretty good. Moving forward through the Olones and through the Pomos to the bell song. Here we are. Bell sound wide resound throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法仰望一空中，共训其法界和平，利益报贪恼后等。Here we go. Now, all these protocols, all this, let's see here. Got a comment, let's see here. Greetings from LA. Okay, mine's in LA, good. Okay. All these preparations are to get us to be able to hear the sutra in a deeper way. That's the point. These are the words of the Buddha, and they, today, guaranteed, this sutra is the oldest thing you'll meet today. No contest. This is the oldest insight, the oldest wisdom of our lives, probably 2,500-year tradition of wisdom in this form, unchanged. It's been translated, but it's same ideas. And the fun part, to my point of view, is that it's relevant. We can hear it and make use of it today in the next, the next thought, the next minute, the next hour, tonight, tomorrow. The insights the Buddha laid down back when the prince woke up out there in the bush are still alive and still make sense for us. That's cool. That's worth it. So today is particularly one of those sections of our sutra that comes alive, and all the preparations that we've done, the Dharma request, the invocation, the bell song, etc. I can do these with everybody. My preparation is from week to week. I mean, I'm thinking about the next piece of the text as soon as this piece is lectured. So I prepare all week, and I don't eat before the lecture so that I'm not digesting food. My sleep cycles have to do with getting ready to explain the text. I think of stories that relate. I go and check Tang Dynasty commentaries, try to understand, using ChatGPT to help me read Tang Dynasty Chinese. I don't know if that's cheating. No, it shouldn't. It's a tool. And then the meditations and the things that I don't do, the precepts that guide my choice of where I use my eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind during the week. all have to do with being able to, if you think of the Dharma speaker as a camera lens, I want my lens to be as sharp and as focused as it can be for these 90 minutes that the sutra is in front of all of us. So for me, that makes it worth getting out of bed, because the sutra is very special. Our teacher's pointing it out to us. He took real pains, efforts to point out the importance of the sutra for us now, and that it comes down to me to be able to take part in this Avatamsaka Dharma assembly is, I don't have a salary. This is the payoff. This is the good part. This is the reward, is to be able to open the sutra and say, what does it mean? First of all, what does it say? And if we can take a good whack at what it says, then we have a better chance of understanding what it means. And that our best interpretation of what it means today will be improved next month, next year, next lifetime. So anyway, that's the fun part. And so glad that you're here with us. And because I'm using Zoom here, and it goes, we're live streaming out to YouTube and to a Chinese channel as well, and a Vietnamese channel. I don't get to see where you all are. When I'm just doing it myself, I can look at the name list of those folks who are listening in, and on YouTube, on the other software setup. And it's fun to be able to say, oh my goodness, look, how many people are here listening in from Manchuria? So many. How many people are here listening in from Canada? So many. Where did all the Polish listeners go? They disappeared. Europeans are not here. The Lamb family used to be here, all 6 of them, and from different parts of the UK. Well, they moved to America, and we kind of lost them in the way. So, on and on. It was really fun to connect with the broader community. So I don't have that function here with this particular lecture. So I'm just saying to all of you folks, glad you're here. And I would love to be able to increase your understanding of the sutra, kind of give you a deeper dive into the sutra. But I can't, beyond doing my part. Master Hua would say, don't ask me how well do I lecture. My question to you is, how well can you listen? Even if I lecture shallowly or poorly, if you're really able to listen, you get a full banquet. You come away from this Dharma dinner fully nourished. And so what could, do I have any advice for all of you to help you hear it more deeply? I can point out that, certainly for myself, the answer to how clear is the lens on my Dharma camera that you're looking at, or Dharma projector that you're looking at the sutra through, if you follow the metaphor. How clear that is determined by, as I said, what I do with my eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind when I'm not lecturing the sutra. People say, how do I improve my meditation? And my answer is the same. It's, what are you doing with your body and mind when you're not meditating? That's what will determine how the meditation shakes down for you. If you're using your 6 senses, your body and your mind, your 5 skandhas, you could say, your 6 senses, if you're using them in a way that is free from affliction, if you don't give in to greed, if you take just enough, not too much, not too little, if you don't allow anger to burn down your merit and virtue, that you're not a block of wood, but you don't rage, you don't let the rage turn you red or black, your eyes, that is to say, red or black. Then, if you listen carefully to the intent behind the words that people speak to you, you can stay away from delusion. If you always listen again and 3 times to get the truth behind the words that you hear, and recognize that something that sounds like an insult might have very little to do with you, it might be totally their trouble, and it's just they're hurting, and so they're not listening to the words they say. That keeps your delusion from confusing, right? Do those things during the week, for sure. The absence of greed, anger, and delusion, when it comes time to listen to the Sutra, will contribute to the experience of being able to hear much closer to the Buddha's intent. So that's how I look at the week. True for meditation, true for listening to sutras. So put that all to the test on today's chapter. Here we go. Here it is. Give you a background. What's going on? Manjushri Bodhisattva. Ho ho ho. Let's see here. I want to show you Manjushri. We got a new one. We got a new Manjushri from, King Ashoka Temple? No. From Gochingsu? No. Let's see here. Is this not that one? Where did Manjushri go? Here it is. It's going to be here. Oh, I know. I put it into yeah, that's right. I stashed it. There we go. Now, the one that I want to show you is an incredible Manjushri Bodhisattva. It's not that one. It's this one. Here it is. This is from the Yulin Shan Ku, Yulin Shiku out in Gansu province. This is Manjushri Bodhisattva, and it's from a wall. So and the weather has gotten to it. It's a Tang Dynasty painting. And he's got a ru'i in his hand. And notice he's got a goatee and a mustache. Manjushri is distinctly male in this incarnation. And look at his halo, the 2 halos. And he's got a headdress. He's wearing incredible outfit, sitting in full lotus. Where? On a lion. There's the lion right there. Here's the lion. And this is that, maybe that's not Madhyayana? That can't be Shariputra. Maybe this could be Shariputra. It's a generic arhat. And he's got his bowl and he's got his tin staff. So he's a pilgrim. I don't know who that is. This is the lion tamer. This particular figure, his job is to take care of the lion. Notice, he's got the lion on a leash. Careful. The lion is walking on lotuses. And the clouds and incense everywhere. So what an amazing image. This is a 1,300-year-old painting giving us a look at Manjushri. So, that's him. So Manjushri has shown up in our story to talk to who? To talk to 6,000 bhikshus whom their teacher, Shariputra, has now introduced to Manjushri. And he has said, they bowed to the Buddha, who was there in the Jada Grove, and said, we want to follow Manjushri, is that okay? The Buddha silently gave assent. They took off to follow Manjushri Bodhisattva. And so Shariputra, foremost in wisdom, told the bhikshus, the young monks, he said, you should contemplate Manjushri, and gave them 10 different places to think about Manjushri in their mind, to like put him in their mind. And so they did. And as soon as they did that, they got all these incredible experiences. We went through them last week. The things that happened to them as they looked at Manjushri. And it was profound, the things that occurred to them. And see here. We're going to look at them. If you recall what it was. Okay. Right. So let's connect the story. This is I want to stitch it together so that people feel we can shrink the time and shrink the distance. Time and space will collapse so that we're there observing the events of the Avatamsaka Sutra as they happen before our eyes, okay? So what happens? Let me go quickly through the Chinese. I'll just read this quickly so that we understand what's happening here. Starting here. Here we go. 二师文殊师利童子从善住楼阁出，遇无量同行菩萨，即常随侍卫，诸金刚身，普为众生供养诸佛，诸身众生，久发见识愿，常随从诸祖行神，要闻妙法，主地神，常修大悲，主水身，智光照耀，主火身，摩尼为观，主风身。Okay, so we heard this before, but I want to give it to everybody so they can see the movement here. All right, Manjushri, and it says Manjushri the youth. We haven't commented on that yet. Today's text after Shariputra introduces them, the bhikshus go to Manjushri and say, I want to be like you. I want to have a body like yours. Okay, point. I want to have a body like yours, they say. These bhikshus are so impressed with Manjushri, just at the sight of him, just to see him puts these thoughts in their mind. They want to be like him. And what's he like? The youth Manjushri. It's like, wait a minute, I thought he was the great bodhisattva. Yes, he is. He is. But he appears in a very interesting form. Now, I've been taking this opportunity to learn about Manjushri myself. And he had, one of his names is this. Manjushri Kumara Buddha. That's the Sanskrit right there. Manjushri, who is still a boy. Or some people would say Prince Manjushri. Now, Kumara is the people know our sisters on the Hindu side, the Brahmakumaris, the nuns in white. Well, that Kumari is the female, feminine of Kumara. Kumara in Chinese is Tongzi. And they say that Manjushri appears as a young boy, not necessarily like an 8-year-old. That's not the point. The point is Manjushri is unstained by the world. He's still pure. He hasn't gotten angry. He never got lustful. He hasn't gotten confused by, Broadway, uptown, a jazz club. Manjushri is able to preserve his sense of wholeness and innocence. Manjushri can go out, lay back in the grass at night and stare at the stars without apology. He's that kind of youth, right? He's still, you could say, I guess you say his innocence. Manjushri's innocence is still with him. So Manjushri Kumara Bhutta. Bhutta is like still there. So Manjushri, whose innocence is still with him, his sense of wonder. And just that, in the world today, boy oh boy, when you meet people who are not yet polluted by desire, you see something special about humanity. That to be able to keep our connection to the world without the world poisoning, poison in the sense of greed, hatred, and delusion are called the 3 poisons, it's very special. I know a lot of parents who homeschool their kids with a wish to preserve the innocence of the kids as long as they can, knowing what's coming once they get out in the marketplace. At the schools of the city of 10,000 Buddhas, we don't allow the students to have phones. Kids are not allowed to have video games. They're not allowed to consume social media while they're at school. And you think, whoa, wait a minute, does that help the kids or does it hurt them? Well, the superintendent of education in Mendocino County, who is not a Buddhist at all, he's the guy, he and his wife, in charge of the schools in public education in Mendocino County, sends his children to our schools, not his own schools. Why? Precisely because boys and girls study separately, and they're not allowed to put their attention on social media until they go home, when it's their choice. But in the school, they don't. They have to check their phones at home. So this idea of Manjushri, the Kumara Bhutta, Manjushri, the Tongzi, the youth Manjushri, that's the point. It's not that he's 8 years old, but he has grown to incredible maturity without losing his innocence and his purity. And what a challenge in the world. If you think in terms of what kind of a person do I want to be? How do I want to grow up? So I told that story about one of our families in Berkeley who their daughter was coming into teen years, and the family lived in Alameda. Alameda is this very interesting little, here my true knobs is here. Alameda is a town on a peninsula. It's on an island in the San Francisco Bay. You have to either go on a tunnel to get there or over a bridge to get there because it's separated from the East Bay and it's in the bay. So Alameda, for years and years, was a town that it was famous because you didn't have to lock your doors. People trusted each other. Everybody knew everybody. If somebody showed up on the street that nobody recognized, they would welcome them. Hi, what's your name? Can I help you? You know, are you a thief? And people, so you didn't have to lock your doors. Now you do. There was a headline in yesterday's San Francisco Chronicle. 1 in every 30 citizens of Oakland has had his car stolen. 1,500 car thefts in Oakland in 2023. 1,500 car thefts. And Oakland and Alameda are next door. So 1 in every 30 Oaklandites has had their car stolen. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about lost innocence, right? So it was the case that in Alameda, this small town in the San Francisco Bay connected to Oakland through a tunnel and a bridge, you didn't have to lock your doors at night. So, even so, this young woman, who she's now grown up, married, now has a kid, but at the time she was just, I think she was 12, 13, at that age. And the parents are really good Buddhists, and they wanted to send her to our schools, the girls' school, Cultivating, Instilling Goodness, elementary, Cultivating Goodness secondary school, a city of 10,000 Buddhists. Well, she didn't want to go. Her big thing was, I believe it was the Backstreet Boys at the time. It was the American boy band. Now it's SBL, IBS, no, it's the Korean band. So back then it was the Backstreet Boys. And she wanted to be socially hip. She was checking out makeup. She was looking at lipstick. She read the boy band magazines and was starting to dress according to what was hip in the magazines. And her parents watched this, and her school grades just fell through the floor. She wasn't able to study. She didn't read. Because all of her energy was going sideways into being popular, which, we're not to point to that and say how bad, how evil. It's just normal. She was losing her innocence. And as a result, without even being aware, she was losing her future because she was not interested in school at all. So the parents said, we want to send you to the girls' school at City of 10,000 Buddhas. And I don't want to go. I really don't want to go. Don't send me there. I'll quit. I'll stop being your daughter. 12-year-old rebellion. And the parents said, no, we think, try it for a semester. And if you're really, really unhappy after a semester, we'll bring you back to public school in Alameda. So they're kind of like holding her nose, she went ahead to do it. So we were watching very carefully because this is a young woman who had grown up in our Sunday school, and we wanted we were very curious about how education was going to work for her or not. And it made a big difference in her whole future, whether she could understand why her parents wanted her to go there. So we didn't hear anything for the first month and didn't hear anything for the second month. And at this point, it was Christmas break, time to come home. And the young girl came back, and Saturday night lecture, and the family showed up. And we said, I won't give her name, people know who she is. Where is she? And they said, well, she's back in the dining room. And I said, she's not going to check out her girlfriends and kind of catch up on everything she's missed? No, she's not. So I went back into the dining room, and here was the young girl with a stack of books that she was reading 3 books at once and had them, open on the spines of the book. And she was like, just there, obviously engrossed in her reading. And I said, "Hi there, how are you?" She said, "Fine." "What are you doing?" "Reading." "Oh, what's the latest with Backstreet Boys?" "I don't know." She had picked up the habit of reading. Her mind had opened. And she was absorbing knowledge through her eyes from a printed page. And I'm like, "Okay, we'll see you after lecture." "Okay." Yes. And she didn't care about the magazines and the lipstick and the latest news from the Backstreet Boys. Nothing wrong with the Backstreet Boys. They're a good band. But she had jumped off the commercial bandwagon that had hooked her into being a consumer of popular entertainment, and she was feeding her mind, her knowledge, her love of knowledge, right, had awakened. And sure enough, she spent 4 years in girls' high school. She learned to be a baker. She apprenticed as a baker. She just picked that up on her own as well as, in high school. And she's now happily married and has a very healthy baby. So that's Manjushri, the youth Manjushri, preserving that innocence through puberty into the time when you can learn on your own, when your mind is decided it wants to know things. Oh, that's the future of her life and everyone that she meets, instead of just being a passive consumer of entertainment. So, yeah, big deal. So that is Manjushri Kumarabutta, still a youth, until you're no longer chronologically a youth, but your mind is still in love with learning and wonder at the world. Okay, so back to our text here. Here it is. The youth Manjushri came out of Wholesome Abode Pavilion. Limitless bodhisattvas were with him, and who? Spirits. Vajra goodness. They were there. Many-bodied spirits. Ooh. Wow. Many bodies. Spirits that change their bodies. Foot travel spirits, earth rulers, water rulers, fire rulers, wind ruling spirits. All there. Who else? Here we go. 明练十方一切意识诸方神，专勤除灭无明黑暗诸业神，一心匪懈禅明佛日诸咒神，庄严法界一切虚空诸空身，普度众生超诸有海诸海身，常勤积极去一切智诸道身，善根高大如山诸山圣。Yeah, long name. More. Okay, we're going all the way down to the bottom here. 常勤守护一切众生菩提心成诸成神，常勤守护一切智无上法成诸大龙神，常勤守护一切众生诸夜叉王。Okay, we'll stop. I'm going to stop right there. Now that I said we're going to go on, we're going to stop right there. Moving back, because we go from spirits to kings. We're going to go back to the spirits. Here we go. The direction-ruling spirits who were clear in mind and skilled in the behavior of beings in the 10 directions. There were also night-ruling spirits, especially diligent in destroying ignorance and darkness. Day-ruling spirits who single-mindedly revealed the Buddha's sun without the slightest laxness. Space-ruling spirits who adorned the Dharma realm in all of space. Ocean-ruling spirits who save beings from the ocean of existence. Mountain-ruling spirits who always diligently amass good roots that aid the path, that approach omniscience. They were lofty and massive like mountains. Fortress-ruling spirits who always diligently guarded and protected beings' fortress of the Bodhi mind. Okay, to there. So that's the spirits. Notice these are elements, elemental spirits, earth, water, fire, and air. Directions, they were clear in mind. Night rulers, day rulers, and the refrain is something that they pertaining to night and day, something pertaining to directions. Space rulers, ocean rulers, mountain rulers. Look at what the mountain ruling spirits. They diligently amass good roots that aid the path. They approach omniscience, lofty and massive. Fortress ruling, I think that's Chung, right? I would translate that as city ruling spirits, not fortresses. City ruling spirits who guard and protect beings for cities of the mind. Okay, that's the spirits. We get to the dragons next. Now, when we came through this, I was away and didn't have a chance to explain one thought about these spirits, which is you probably have been somewhere in nature, perhaps, but you can see this is not only nature, this is also city ruling spirits. These are human construction. You've probably been somewhere where you were aware that invisibly there was a presence there. I get that in mountains. I get that in forests. Here in Australia they call it the bush. You can get it sometimes in cathedrals. I think probably cemeteries. People feel it in cemeteries. We don't call them spirits, we call them ghosts. Ooh. The cemeteries or graveyards are funny places, aren't they? You have a sense that there's a presence there. So when I read all these different spirits that follow who? Manjushri. When Manjushri shows up, look, goodness spirits, many bodies, foot travel, earth, water, fire, air, direction rulers, night rulers, day rulers, space rulers, ocean rulers, mountain rulers, city spirits. All these different spirits want to be close to Manjushri. They want to be connected to him. He's special. This bodhisattva is a teacher. He's a teacher of other bodhisattvas. They call him the mother of the Buddhas, of all Buddhas. Manjushri is connected to Prajna Paramita. When you see him, he's got a sword in his hand, or he's got that ru'i, that scepter, which is the teacher's, like a talking stick in the Native American tradition. Holding the ru'i, it's your turn to speak, and he holds that ru'i. He is very special, and so the spirits want to be with him. Are these spirits in the sutra metaphors? No, I think they're spirits. Like when you go out, I know people who surf. They tell me, I'm not a surfer, but people who surf tell me that when you're on that board, on those waves, you're very much in touch with a presence in the ocean. That some days it's mean, some days it's full of mischief, some days it's just serene. But there's definitely a presence that is it the skin that you pick it up? No, it's your soul, your spirit, connects to other beings. These beings invisibly follow Manjushri. And asking, when you were around Master Shenhua, when you were around Shifu, you really, really had the feeling that he was seeing them and that these spirits followed him the same way. That the nature was alive. What we call empty space wasn't empty. To the point where he told us at night at Gold Mountain Monastery, we were brand new left home disciples. He said, just stay in your room at night. Don't go out wandering. Stay away from the stairways, particularly, and watch out for the corners. Just stay in your room. Just do meditate in your room. Come out when you hear the boards for the morning ceremony. That's early enough, 3:30, but don't wander around the monastery. Don't, he would say. And you really had the feeling we would talk about it, and he was like, yeah, I think I'll stay in my room. That there were things filling the monasteries. Every square inch was filled with spirits and ghosts and demons and gods and dragons and kinaras and kumbandas and, maharagas and yakshas and rakshasas and on, that just follow instructions and stay in your room. So it's like this. Here's the sutra telling us that Manjushri is followed by a huge number of beings. Yes. Do we know they're out there? You can feel them. You in a ghetto where people are afflicted and suffering from poverty and need and want and pain and misery. That's what you feel. That's emotion. And it fills up space. Despair fills up space. That people talk about going to Auschwitz or the camps in Poland and Germany where millions of people died on that plot of land. And they say the presence there is so compelling, but it's not this kind of light energy. It's another kind of energy. So we mostly, especially if we just get lost in our mobile devices, right? It's kind of think that the whole world is down on this little screen, this little display. But all you have to do to prove my point is climb a mountain, get up above the tree line, pitch your tent, and turn out your light. You'll be aware of the presence of spiritual energy in nature. Pretty quickly, the mind goes right back to storytelling and things that in the big city under the bright lights we would call superstition. But out there on the mountaintop, when it's just a layer of canvas or a layer of ripstop nylon and everything else out there, pretty quickly, what was that noise? Right? It's like, yeah, we are not very sophisticated. We're not very far from wanting to follow Manjushri Bodhisattva because he is bright light. He is pure goodness. So it's no surprise that all these spirits want to follow him. Yes, they do. Okay, who else? Now, let's move on. We got another group. Let's read on down here. That's the spirits. Okay, ready? Here we go. 常今守护一切智智无上法成诸大龙王，常今守护一切众生诸夜叉王，常令众生增长欢喜，千他婆王，常尽除灭诸恶鬼趣，九攀荼王，恒愿巴击一切众生出诸有海，迦卢罗王。愿得成就诸如来身高处世间阿修罗王，见佛欢喜，鞠躬恭敬，摩诃罗伽王，常厌生死恒乐见佛诸大天王，尊重于佛赞叹供养诸大梵王。Okay, here we go. Dragon kings who constantly and diligently protected the unsurpassed city of Dharma and the wisdom of omniscience. Yaksha kings who constantly guarded beings. Gandharva kings who always increased the happiness of beings. Kumbanda kings who always diligently destroyed the destinies of the hungry ghosts. Garuda kings who always vowed to pull beings from the ocean of existence and to save them. Ashura kings who vowed to cultivate and attain the Tathagata's body, to be lofty and to transcend the world. Maharaga kings who delighted in seeing the Buddha and who reverently bowed to him. Great Deva kings who were forever weary of birth and death and delighted in seeing the Buddha. And great Brahma kings who revered the Buddha, who praised and made offerings to him. Okay, Tian Long Ba Bu. The gods, the dragons, the Eightfold Pantheon of spiritual beings. And I want to say right here, when I was raised in the Methodist Protestant church, from Christianity. Even as somebody who had zero appreciation of any other religious ecosystem, so I don't think, nothing to compare it with. I felt that Christianity, particularly Northern European Protestant Methodists, was sterile. It was like mayonnaise on white bread with margarine. You take a piece of white bread, Wonder Bread, balloon bread, right? Puffy, air-filled bread, slammer on some margarine, and then put some mayonnaise on it. That's the flavor. It was white and bland. And the reason being, it was not an accident, it's deliberate. That at some point in European history, people felt that the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, was too powerful because the Pope could send your body to prison and he could also send your soul to hell. So people protested and the Protestant Reformation happened. And in the process of reducing the power of the Roman Catholic Church in the Vatican, they got rid of too much. It was an overreaction. They pulled Jesus off the cross. They pulled the saints out of the stained glass windows, and they replaced it with colored glass and this bare cross. All of the stories of the saints, the Blessed Virgin, Mother Mary, gone. The only thing that they saved was what was called logos, the word, meaning the stories in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the four Gospels. All of so many books that were of the Bible that were full of soul and spirit, they were called apocrypha. The Jesus never spoke them, we don't want them. Got rid of it. They were iconoclasts. They didn't want any icons. They didn't want the Pope with his crozier, his staff. They didn't want the ring. He didn't want to kiss the ring. They didn't want his crown, his mitre. Got rid of all of that. But in the process, they sterilized faith. So for us, what we waited for as Protestants, Christmas. Because why? The Christmas carols, right? The music was good, but everything else was just white bread with mayonnaise. And so when I got to the Mahayana, one of the first things that caught my attention were the dragons in the Mahayana. Oh my goodness, there were dragons on the altar, there were dragons around the Buddha's throne, there were lotuses, there were ghosts, there were goblins, there was Guanyin Bodhisattva, who was there with 1,000 hands to save me if I would recite her name. There was a mantra. There were demons, and they were actively opposing the Buddha, and we know their names, and we know how they hang out, and we have a method for defeating them. It's like, here was a religious set of stories that mirrored my experience of the world, which is the world is jam-packed with presence. When the Buddha, for example, here's a perfect example, right here, here's the sutra. We've gone through the spirits, now we're looking at dragons, very much present. From the earliest times to the present, dragons are part of the Buddha Dharma. Yakshas, which are ghosts, and they guard, they're not evil. Gandharvas are music spirits, powerful music spirits who make people happy. Kumbhandas are ghosts who protect those beings out of their human body but not yet reborn into the human realm or the heavens, so they're in a ghost body. The Kumbhandas help that reality of the presence of suffering ghosts called pretas, hungry ghosts. It's like, yeah, our teaching includes those. You want to know about them? Here's the sutra. Garuda kings, these are pung birds, these giant birds. Ashura kings, Ashuras are part of the story. Maharaga kings, giant snakes that draw near the Buddha. Devas, all the different levels of gods. Brahma kings who enter samadhi in the heavens. It's like, yes, okay, wow, this is, yeah. So when I joined the interfaith gatherings and had an opportunity to spend time with shamanesses from the mountains of Latin America, Quechua people, and to have them talk one-to-one about Pachamama, about Gaia, about the planet, and the way indigenous wisdom from the mountains looks at the world. And then my turn comes and I talk about the gods and the dragons and the Eightfold Pantheon and how the Buddha relates to the spirits of the earth and the fire and the water and the wind and the mountains and the crops and the rivers and the lakes, and have the shamaness from Latin America go, oh, there's a lot of wisdom in your tradition. Can you teach me more about it? It's like, yes, okay, sure. There's wisdom here that bless their heart, Methodism brings lots of goodness to be in the world, but the sterility of it starved part of my soul, you could say. And when I got to the Dharma, here was a story that matched my awareness of environmental reality. The fact that humans are not the center of the planet and all its systems, but we can destroy the planet and all its systems by failing to open to and respecting the other systems that are right here with us. When I got to the Mahayana, it was like, yes, here is knowledge that actually helps me step into Gaia, into the planet and all its interrelated, totally connected systems. For example, one of the mantras that monks and nuns recite in the morning says, the Buddha looked at a single drop of water and saw that it contained countless numbers of living beings. If I should drink this without reciting the mantra, then I'm actually creating the karma of killing. So here's the Buddha who looked at the body and said, lots of living beings. Science looks at the body and goes, wow, trillions of amoeba, trillions of living beings. With every exhalation, we are exhaling living beings. Every time we inhale, that every cell contains bugs. And you go, that's interesting. Maybe science and the Buddha Dharma could have a conversation about it. And you go, yeah, right. So, how nice to have the Sutra of the Dharma realm, the Avatamsaka Sutra, focus on the invisible but completely real reality that the Buddha sees through his eyes and wants us to, even if we can't see it, but we can appreciate it and open to it and live in a way that honors the presence of all forms of life and tries to find a way to live ethically, harmlessly, in the middle of all those systems of existence, right? So that's why the sutra, if we can identify and propagate the teachings of the Avatamsaka, we're bringing to the 21st century a system of conduct, of behavior that dignifies humanity's place in Mother Earth, to live in a way that actually can sustain us and take us away from this headlong rush to extinction that we seem to be on the path of. People are taking it for granted. Yeah, we're heading towards the next extinction. It's number 6, I think, the 6th extinction. And, oh my goodness, the climate gatherings, climate COP28, is it? Was the latest one? They're saying, oh, well, we'll cut those carbon emissions by 2030, and that's 6 years from now. And the people who are in touch say, too late. Nope. Too late. Or you're not taking it seriously. You're still counting your profits foremost. That the only way to save the planet now is to put out a 5-alarm alert and say humanity has to turn around, or we're going to get to this place where we up the degree of the oceans by 2 degrees, and if you live in Miami, if you live in New York, if you live in San Francisco, you better get a boat. Anyway, so Manjushri and all those great bodhisattvas, what happens next? They come down and visit the Buddha. They circle the Buddha countless numbers of times, make offerings of many beautiful things, and then go south towards the world of humans. Let me read that. 文殊师利与如是等功德庄严，诸菩萨众出自在处，来诣佛所，右绕师尊尽无量杂，依诸工具，种种供养，供养必矣，此退难行，妄欲人间. So this is where he did it. Manjushri came, notice that he has his priorities. He's a bodhisattva, he's the teacher, but what does he do? He bows to the Buddha. He goes to visit the Buddha, who is his spiritual superior. He's there to help the Buddha, but the Buddha is the source. They circle him to the right, that's the traditional spiritual exercise, and make offerings to the Buddha. Notice that? Generosity, giving, foremost practice. Then they say, we're going south, we have a job to do. So by this, how we understand it is, Manjushri lives in another place. Doesn't specify where it is, although traditionally they say Wu Taishan, 5 Peaks Mountain, out in Shanxi province. The Chinese identify it, so does the Sutra. Interesting. Particularly rugged part of northwestern China. Kind of would be like, I guess, Utah, kind of, if it were America. It would be kind of like the Kimberley if it were Australia. That's kind of where Manjushri lives, out in the rugged places. But he has teaching to do. He has an appointment with Sudana. So he's coming down. He's coming down to where Sudana. And the place where Sudana is said to live is in southern India, down in Kerala, that's where Blessing City, Fuchang, is. So anyway, whether we have to pin it to a place on our planet, not necessarily so. Say it corresponds, but it's south. So he comes down and he's got a job to do. All right, the next thing that happens is Manjushri. Next thing, Shariputra. Shariputra shows up. Let's take a look. Here we go. 20尊者舍利弗，成佛身力，见文殊师利菩萨，与诸菩萨众会庄严，出世若林，望于南方，有幸人间，作如是念：我今当于文殊师利，去往南方. Okay? At that moment, Venerable Shariputra, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, saw the Bodhisattva Manjushri together with the assembly of bodhisattvas attending him. That includes the spirits and the gods and dragons. Had come out of the Jada Grove, was traveling south to the world of people. He thought, it's time to go south with Manjushri. Okay, Shariputra shows up. So we now have these two these two foremost exemplars of Buddhist wisdom. Wisdom in the Buddhist world is Shariputra, foremost among the disciples in wisdom. Somebody who, according to our knowledge of the real Shariputra historical person, the Buddha often gave him the job of teaching. The Buddha, the 49 years that he was there gathering disciples and teaching, he went on retreats regularly. The stories say that he couldn't stand the fighting among the Sangha, And he would just say, you guys figure it out, I'm out of here. And he would go off into the woods, go off into the bush. And elephants would come and make offerings, and monkeys would come and make offerings, and he would go on retreat. He'd kick back and feed the kookaburras because he couldn't stand the constant quarreling among the monks. And then he would come back and try something else. I'll try a different method. During that time, Shariputra was in charge often, not always, but regularly, as was Mahakashyapa and Mahamagayana occasionally. They all had their different roles. But Shariputra was often the one that the Buddha said, you take over. So he sees Manjushri on his mission to teach Sudana. He says, I have some students who I would like to meet Manjushri. So Manjushri is the premier bodhisattva of the Mahayana tradition for wisdom. Okay, moving forward, let's see here. Okay, we're catching up to where I'm going back but to get forward. Here we go. 十尊者舍利弗与6000比丘前后围绕，处自住处，来诣佛所，顶礼佛祖，具拜师尊，师尊听许，右绕三匝，此退而去，望文殊舍利所。Venerable Shariputra with 6,000 bhikshus surrounding him came out of their own abode at the Buddha's side, bowed to the Buddha, requested permission from the World Honored One. The World Honored One gave consent. Shariputra circled to the right 3 times, bade farewell, left for Manjushri's dwelling. All right, who says the Avatamsaka Sutra is all philosophy? Did you ever read it? No. Look, this is like this is a story. This is a narrative. It's a play that's going on here. There's action. There are players. There are roles. If it was on theater, it's blocking, right? You go down stage right and say your lines. So Shariputra comes out with 6,000 monks. Came out from where they were. Imagine a monastery that holds 6,000 monks. They bowed to the Buddha. Took a long time, 6,000 of them. And I'm sure they're well behaved because they're thrilled to see the Buddha. Shariputra told them how to do it. And we want to leave, we want to follow Manjushri. Buddha goes, doesn't say yes, he just nods, right? No, they say he silently assents. And they circle again to the right 3 times. This is this spiritual exercise. Said goodbye and went where Manjushri was. The next thing that happens is we learn the names of some of the bhikshus. We find out that they're new. They're new. And, of course, the commentaries say, why is this important? It's because they haven't fixed their identity in the Sangha. They can be inspired to make the great Bodhi resolve. That's the point. If they were old-timers, that means they've already established their practices, they've opened certain Dharma doors to the Dharma, and they're going to stick with those because that's what you do to get good at it. And it says, Chujia Weiqiu, they haven't left home for long, so that they can still be inspired to want to teach living beings, because that's a different path. Okay? Can we read just that much? Okay, here we go. 此6000比丘是舍利弗自所同住出家会久。所谓海觉比丘、善生比丘、福光比丘、大童子比丘、电生比丘、净恒比丘、天德比丘、君慧比丘、翻胜比丘、济慧比丘如是等，其数6000，曾未曾悉曾供养无量诸佛，甚至善根，解力广大，信言明彻，其心宽博，观佛境界，了法本性，饶益众生，常乐清修诸佛功德。 接受文殊师利说法教化之所成就. Okay. These 6,000 bhikshus stayed together with Shariputra. They hadn't left home for long. They were Bhikshu Ocean of Enlightenment, Bhikshu Wholesome Birth, Bhikshu Light of Blessing, Bhikshu Great Pure Youth, Bhikshu Lightning Born, Bhikshu Pure Practice, Bhikshu Heaven's Virtue, Bhikshu Regal Wisdom, Bhikshu Brahma Supreme, Bhikshu Tranquil Wisdom, and so forth, numbering 6,000, They had made offerings to measureless Buddhas. They planted good roots. Their power of understanding was vast. Their eye of belief was lucid. Their minds were broad. In contemplating the Buddha's state, they understood the nature of dharmas. They could benefit beings. They enjoyed seeking the qualities of the Buddhas. They'd been brought to accomplishment by the teachings of Manjushri, who spoke the Dharma for them. All right, so we get to hear some of their names, and you have to figure that's who it was. These are real bhikshus that the sutra names, and they're all kind of a lot of birth happening, wholesome birth. So they're new, they're fresh. 6,000. And look at the qualities. These are the qualities for beginners, aren't they? They made offerings to the Buddhas, they had good roots, they could really understand things, they had good faith, they had broad minds, they understood the nature of dharmas, they were happy to help others, they liked seeing the Buddhas, right? These are all qualities of kind of tenderfeet. Great potential, no experience yet. This is all the first act in their life of cultivation. They had been brought to accomplishment by teachings of Manjushri. That is to say, they had these affinities. They were connected to Manjushri by hearing what he said. They've never seen him. They're not inspired by him yet. But these are great potentials. And the reason I bring that up is I can relate. It's they have their future ahead of them. They're relatively new in the Dharma. Yeah, me too. I can easily project myself into their state and wonder what's ahead. The Bodhisattva path is long. It's difficult. There's many tests, there's many grades, 52 different stages that you walk every step of, go through the 50 skandha demons and all, to get to Buddhahood. And these 6,000 monks are at the first step, first stage. Interestingly, for people who are keeping track, when you go through the 52 Bodhisattva stages, which are in the Avatamsaka, and their Sudana goes through them, we hear about the 10 faiths, the 10 abodes, the 10 dwellings, the 10 practices, the 10 transferences, the 10 inexhaustible treasuries, and the 10 grounds, and then there's 2 more, equal enlightenment and wonderful enlightenment. This is the 10 faiths. What we're seeing right now is all that we get of the 10 faiths. When you go on into the sutra, there are chapters called the Shi Zhu, Shi Heng, Shi Hui Xiang, Shi Wu Jin Zang, Shi Di, right? They're all listed. The 10 faiths is not. It's missing. This is it. Talking about these 6,000 monks with Manjushri, Manjushri brings them across through the 10 stages of faith to the 10 dwelling. That's how powerful his teaching is. Okay. Last week we got here, Shariputra says, I want you all to contemplate Manjushri. And then he tells them what? His hallmarks, his lights. Remember we talked about his aura last week? Look at the assemblies, look at the road he walks on. He transforms the environment wherever he goes. He made offerings. So he gives them the rundown. about what he wants them, how he wants them to see Manjushri. And when they hear about this, there's a change. There's a major change. There's physical changes, spiritual changes, intellectual changes that happen when they hear Manjushri's name, and they put him in their minds. So that's where we're going to come back next week to get the flow of the transformations. So now we've kind of got the whole scene of Manjushri's and Shariputra's effects on the young monks. And what's coming up next is the instructions. So after, see here it is. Well, I'll pass this to Sam and to Kevin next week so we can all be on the same page with what's happening here. This so far has been preparation for the instructions that come down. Manjushri wants these 6,000 monks to become bodhisattvas, and he teaches them how to get going on the path. That's coming up next, so we'll do that next week. Now, as I was looking at Manjushri, the resources that are available in English in the West, it was interesting that they pointed out that in the Tang Dynasty, there was a poet named Han Shan, Cold Mountain. And he's Cold Mountain, who was there with Shida, Pickup, they called him, and their teacher, who was Fenggan Heshan, they say that symbolically, that is Manjushri Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, and Amitabha, or Vairochana Buddha, that those three beings. These are historical beings who lived at Guoqing Monastery on Tiantaishan in Zhejiang province. And the resources that talk about Manjushri say, as Han Shan, he wrote a poem that showed how real wisdom penetrates the surface of circumstances, looks beyond the skin into the heart of the matter. No matter what's going on, if you have real wisdom, you can go right through. And then it gave this poem, and it's not a poem that I remember from Han Shan. Maybe we haven't gotten there yet. Dharmaster Lai and Ben and I and a whole team look into Han Shan poems every week. I don't remember this particular poem, but it reminded it's the same topic about a wedding banquet. And it's funny because the poem that we heard from Shifu had to do with Bao Zhi. It's not a poem, it's a story. It is a poem, it's a song or a poem. Bao Zhi, Zhigong, a Chan master who lived not in the Tang but in the Sui dynasty. And the thing about him was he shows up at a wedding and he uses his wisdom to look at what's going on, and it's not what most people think about the happy wedding. And the poem goes, Gu gu guai, guai guai gu, sun zi qu zu mu, nu shi mu zhi rou, zi da pi fu gu, zhu yang kang shang zuo, liu qin guo li zhu, zhong sheng lai he xi, wo kan zhen shi ku. He says, strange and ancient and strange, the grandson is marrying his grandmother. The young girl is chewing on her mother's flesh, while the boy is beating a drum made of his father's skin. Pigs and sheep are sitting on the sofa, while the 6 kinds of close relatives are boiling in the pot. All the guests have come to congratulate the lucky couple, through my eyes, it's nothing but suffering. Says who? Says the monk Baozhi. Now, the story that I saw today, it gave this insight to Han Shan, but Shifu told us it was actually Baozhi. So when you look at karma and its retribution, it really takes wisdom. And then even if you see it, it's kind of hard to bear, right? So I thought, perfect song. But you have to choose your audience carefully, because not everybody can hear this song, and it's like a little bit too much truth there. So. She loved her grandson so, when she died, she couldn't let him go. Now 20 years later, she's back again. Can you believe it? She's gonna marry him. You get the setup, right? Grandmother dies and she loved her grandson. She held on to his hand when she died and said, I can't believe you. Well, grandson lived on. 20 years later, oh, there's this beautiful young maiden. It's his grandmother, reborn. How strange, karma's wheel moves on. Grandma marries her own grandson. Yes, she did. If you all could see through my eyes, this wedding banquet's full of surprises. Some come to congratulate, some come to eat, some to be ate. Cannibalism. Don't tell that girl the chalk she's chewing on. In the last life was her own mom. Yes, she was. Don't tell the drummer the drum he's beating on is his father's skin. Don't tell him where it's from. He couldn't take it. How strange, karma's wheel moves on. Grandma marries her own grandson. Hold that note. Don't tell the host, the guests who just arrived, were pigs and sheep in their past lives. Don't tell the guests the dinner cooking merrily in past lives for all their family. How strange, karma's wheel moves on. Grandma marries her own grandson. As the diners or the dish we meet again, are we cannibals who eat our kin? We party on till we awake. It's not bad luck and it's not fate. Do you believe karma's wheel rolls on? We all come back until our deaths are done. So, was it Han Shan as Manjushri, or Manjushri as Han Shan who left that story behind, or was it Baozhi Huishan? So, we'll have to let our own wisdom decide. Okay, we've got an opportunity for the monks at the Berkeley Monastery to tell us what's going on. Hi there.
Amitofo.
Amitofo. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let's get a website up here. Okay. Here we go. How was your retreat?
So first, we just finished the Buddhist Global Relief retreat today.
Okay.
2 days.
So that was finished. I think the recording will be posted very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And Ayamadhipa, Bhikkhu Bodhi, and ourselves can have different sharings on the theme of sustaining hope in hard times.
Nice.
You know, kind of, well, I thought one actually really interesting insight I think Ayamadhipa gave was sometimes we don't say so much about hope in Buddhism because we don't want to set up expectations.
And Bhikkhu Bodhi even couldn't find the word.
They couldn't even find the word for hope in Pali. But what was interesting says, but really it's about seeing things as they are. But actually in Buddhism, we have a lot of hope that we can see things as they are. So it's a different kind of hope. So that's an interesting.
Yeah.
So anyways, if you're interested, there's recordings of those talks.
Right.
If you go down, we have the Guanyin session at the 10,000 Buddhas, March 23rd to the 31st.
Okay.
DRBU Extension will be hosting it, and Doug Powers will be leading many of the talks. So sign up, and it will be a chance to cultivate with the Sangha at the 6,000 Buddhas, but also a chance to really investigate the Dharma with good friends.
Also kind of understand more deep Buddhist psychology, how the mechanism of recitation works.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
Quite illuminating in many ways.
Nice.
Next one we have is the Suna Center retreat. At the current theme hasn't been decided yet, but we're thinking something around like Buddhist depth psychology.
So how it could be the Carl Jung meet Vasubandhu.
Yeah, Carl Jung meets Vasubandhu.
Carl Jung
And
meets
that'll also be
Vasubandhu.
Doug.
Yeah.
All right.
June 1st to 8th.
Okay.
And then Buddharoo Farm.
Here it is. Yeah. Is the website up, by the way?
Yes.
I believe so. You click it.
Let's take a look.
And I don't know if the application works.
Good.
Log said the application should work, but I haven't quite got it to work yet. So, but the dates are set, so you can put down your schedule. And if you keep checking the website, the application should be live very soon.
And it seems it will be Guanyin session again in the forest, what is a very, very special experience.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Let me go. I have to check with Doc again.
Yeah, because I want to
put it up.
I have some friends in China that I want to send this to.
Yeah.
So
look, I'll check with him again, or maybe I can figure out how to do it myself. I don't know if it's possible.
Okay. All right.
Then Snow Mountain Monastery for those who are up in northwest of the United States with Dharma Master Lai, reciting the Earth Store Sutra and Earth Store Bodhisattva's name.
So we change the companion of Guanyin to Earth Store.
Yeah,
that's right.
And then and then if you want to join the Bodhisattva club, you can take the lay Bodhisattva precepts.
So you yourself become a Bodhisattva.
Yeah.
There we go.
And become your companions and fellow cultivators.
Don't wait.
And so this is a kind of really, how would I say, we infrequently transmit these precepts. Last one was like 6 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
So if you have an interest in taking these precepts, definitely recommend signing up soon, because I think the spaces are filling up.
And limited.
Right.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay.
Yep, that's our ongoing events. And the rest are just ongoing events that we've been having at the monastery.
All right. So you're off to Redwood Vihara tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great.
Actually, we're here right now.
We just arrived.
Yeah. Oh, you're there already?
Yeah, just setting up here.
Oh, super.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Okay, Amitofo.
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 Here at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm, we had our bell ringing and mantra chanting for the new year. That was we had in the middle of a driving rainstorm. That was unique and wonderful. So those of us who are interested in Manjushri Bodhisattva, make sure you're here next week so we can catch up with Shariputra, 6,000 monks, and it's the exciting thing is Manjushri teaches. There's a Dharma request. The bhikshus say, please teach us, and he does. He says, okay, if you want to learn the Bodhisattva path, here's how you start. So that's next week. Don't miss it. Okay, dedication of merit. Here we go. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can finally give you unity, may our arms away to bring compassion, wisdom, and to truth. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into heaven. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, along with all our kookaburras here, we can bow to the Buddhas. Please join me. First bow. Second bow. And third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, there's a question, just let's see here. Will the BTTS make a one-volume English book on future love? I don't know, but I will find out. All right, Amitofo, that's going to do it for us this week. Amitofo. See you next week. Bye-bye now.